Hey there, guys, and hi to Jack from Together for Peace. This is a response to you, if you're watching this. Before I begin, first, just have to say, and I know people who watch my channel, they know it's obvious that I don't agree with religion or the Christian point of view, but I at the very least appreciate what it is that Jack wants to do with his channel, have a civil discourse with people of different faiths and different viewpoints, or even people who don't believe in God, period. Just the fact that, he's trying to have, a civil discourse, and at least to me, it seems that he genuinely wants, to peacefully coexist with other people who don't necessarily agree with him. That's freaking great. Anytime you bump into anybody who actually wants, quite frankly, have more peace than constant discord, I'm not going to have a problem with it, as long as they genuinely are for that. So, yeah, I just have to say that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm responding to this video the way I am. This is a response to the video you made about an article that you discussed about how the internet is supposedly a threat to Christianity. Now, I am not making this response as a rebuttal to your viewpoints, or to try to come up with some type of counter view or anything like that. Rather, it's kind of to add to that, because I think that there's something that both you and the article did not address. Because I personally think that that's the main reason why the internet is a threat, or is perceived to be a threat. What it actually means for Christianity, why, it can be troublesome. Now, Josh McDowell's article I did read. And I have to say, there are two things about it that put a little smile on my face. One was that the thing that I was kind of expecting to be in that article wasn't there. Frankly, I was expecting his solution to the internet being a problem for Christians was to kind of limit children's access to it, to censor it, basically. And while I got a little bit of a hint of that, for the most part, that didn't seem to be a solution. In fact, it seemed to be that the main solution was for parents to be parents to their kids. It seemed to me that his whole thing was, well, if you're a Christian parent concerned that your kids aren't growing up Christian, but you're not acting Christian yourself, then what the fuck do you expect? Excuse my language, but that was kind of the gist of, his solution. And, okay, that kind of put a smile on my face. It's like, okay, you're not basically trying to completely demonize the net, though there was some of that in that article, to be honest, which I'm going to get to in a minute, and that was the second thing that made me smile. But, basically telling parents to be parents, not bad advice. And even you, quite frankly, that was the gist of your video. That, well, parents need to, if parents are concerned that their kids aren't being raised Christian, then they need to start acting like Christians in the sense of being good people. That's pretty much what you meant when you were saying act like Christians. But the second thing that made me smile was the blame for the internet being threatening to Christianity was being put squarely on the fact that there are atheists and agnostics on it, being able to spread their views, and before they weren't able to spread it, and now all of a sudden it's easily spread and our kids have easy access to it. That's the problem. Now, I could, if I was being a bit snarky, point out that, well, if what you're following is the ultimate truth, then it doesn't matter what people are putting on the net. As long as you can back it up, it doesn't mean a damn thing. There's plenty of things I've seen on the net that I know are absolute garbage, and they're not swaying my opinion, because I know they're not back. Whatever they're saying is unfounded. And even if I have an inkling of doubt, all I can do is just research other stuff later on the same internet and find out whether it's true or not. But I'm not doing this to be snarky, because I want to get down to what the underlying problem is. The reason why the internet is a threat to Christianity, or me personally, I'd say a certain type of Christianity. The reason why it's a threat to that isn't because there are atheists and agnostics on it who can easily put their, viewpoints on there. The reason why the internet is a threat is because it's the internet. That's it. Let me explain. I don't think that I think you're getting it, to be honest, Jack. I think you're getting it. But just in case you're not, and in case anyone else is watching this is wondering where I'm going with this, let me explain. There was a time period before mass communication, before fast travel, or before the written, the activity of writing down ideas to be able to pass them down from generation to generation to build upon, people generally tended to be in bubbles. You'd be in a little village or maybe in a lockdown city-state. People generally didn't encounter other viewpoints drastically different from theirs. So because of that, there was no exchanging of different ideas necessarily, and no advancement of particular ideas. But the interesting thing is, that's how human society advances. If you look at the development of human civilization and human societies, our philosophies, sciences, mathematics, technology, you name it, these things tend to make huge leaps forward whenever we bump into people who have different viewpoints than we do. When you have one particular perspective, you're only looking in that direction. You're not looking in this direction, you're not looking in this direction, you're just looking here. So if there's certain problems you're having, a certain type of puzzles you're trying to solve, so to speak, in your particular field of human knowledge, as long as you're looking here, you're not seeing that there's an answer over there. Meanwhile, somebody from a different culture, their perspective might just be looking there, but they got the piece to your puzzle. And when you encounter them, you guys start exchanging ideas, it may set that spark. Whoa, I didn't know that. Let me just add that to my own notes. And then they're like, oh yeah, let me add that to my own notes. The exchanging of ideas. It's old as human civilization began. It's fundamental to the advancement of human society, and it always happens. I happen to be a martial artist. One of my favorite things to do is bump into other martial artists with completely different styles, and we compare notes, and we learn things that way. It's fantastic. This is how human society functions. In fact, if you look at the so-called great human civilizations, notice that they tended to make huge steps forward when they started encountering other civilizations, and then there was an exchange in ideas. The advancements in chemistry and mathematics in Europe during the Enlightenment period never would have happened had they not have bumped into people in the East. That's just facts. However, there's a catch to this. Even though you are advancing civilization and you're advancing human knowledge and philosophy and sciences and technology and the like, you're also eroding whatever traditional viewpoints you may have once had, because there is bound to be ideas that you originally held that are later on going to be proven wrong or obsolete or unfounded. It's going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast and the exchanging of ideas. You may later on find out that something you held true isn't true. And this happens in any field. This is not just about religion. Unfortunately, this is what I'm thinking was the problem with Christianity, modern Christianity. As long as you're stuck in your particular bubble where you and the people around you and the functions you go to, the society you tend to interact with, as long as you guys are all thinking one particular viewpoint, and you're stuck in that bubble, without anyone to challenge you, you're going to just keep on thinking that way without, challenging it at all. There may be a couple of people within your bubble, like let's say you happen to live in a small town that's mostly Christian. Or, well, to be even more fair, because to be honest, I know there are small towns that are mostly Christian, but America tends to be more cosmopolitan. You may live in an area with a bunch of different societies, but you notice that even within a city or in a small town, people tend to stay in areas where there are more people who act like them. So, a Christian neighborhood generally will stay within that neighborhood and go to the functions that the neighborhood goes to and goes to that local church and hangs around Christian families. There's no one to challenge their viewpoint. And maybe there might be one or two or three people dotted around their street who don't believe in them. But this is going to be, there's just a couple of rogue elements. They don't understand anything. We understand the truth. They just kind of lost their way a little bit. Now, suddenly, you go online. And suddenly, you see so many different viewpoints. Billions of human beings on earth, and so many of them aren't Christian. Worse, they're not even bad people. I'm not even talking about atheists and agnostics here anymore. Just people with different viewpoints. Yeah, you may have been taught that maybe they're satanic for what they believe, or completely stupid for what they believe, or they're just completely ignorant. But then you actually encounter them. You see their viewpoints online, differing from yours, and they seem to be going along just fine. They're good, decent people. They believe in many of the same things you do. They don't want war. They don't believe in killing. They don't believe in stealing. They are trying to be good people. They just believe in a different deity than you do. That shakes the faith of it, especially when you are no longer seeing just one or two or three people disagreeing with you. Now, it's billions. Why are billions of people believing something different if yours is supposed to be the absolute truth that the minute you encounter it, you automatically know it's to be true? Which is the other problem that the internet presents, burden of proof. Before the general proliferation of knowledge for the average human being, things like reading, research, and discussing things in a debate, philosophy, those type of things were only given, access. Only a small group of people had access to that, were privy to this sort of activity. The layman, many of them couldn't even read, much less be able to debate the complexities of dogma or in philosophy or in trying to understand, the key to human existence. This was beyond them. Things like having to be able to prove your statements was something that they didn't really, that was not in their heads at all. And in fact, let's be blunt, the beliefs they had were beliefs that were given to them and told, this is what you're going to believe, and that's it, you're going to accept it, and that's it, that's your path. There is no debate here. So not only is there no challenge to their view by somebody different, that's not even in your head to try to prove that it's true, you just know it is. And even in modern times, you bump into certain Christian groups, that's the way they view their faith. There is no question. There's no challenging. So if it's true, why do you need to prove that something is true if it's just true? You just accept it to be that way. But now with the proliferation of knowledge for the average citizen, suddenly we're encountering terms like burden of proof and the scientific method and using logic and being able to prove a theory and all that type of stuff. This is something that religious people have never had to encounter before. And the internet is full of that, isn't it? You go online, you say a particular statement, if you happen to be saying it in a place where there's like somebody with at least more than 2 brain cells to rub together, they're going to be demanding that back up what you say. And religion, whether you're for it or not, for the most part, especially in this country, has never really had to back up anything they had to say. Now, all of a sudden, you got all these atheists and agnostics demanding that you prove what you have to say. And even you, Jack, I think you'd have to admit that too many Christians, way too many, distressingly few, are ill-equipped to be able to discuss even their dogma in a basic conversation with somebody else. It is distressing, and I'm saying this as someone who's not Christian. It is very distressing that atheists and agnostics, on a whole, generally, know more about the Bible than Christians do, who will hold up their Bible and say it's the ultimate truth. But that's to be expected if you're just simply accepting it without proving it. And the internet, again, is a source of information, knowledge. The average person clicking on the internet who believes one particular thing but then suddenly is being flooded with knowledge that they were not privy to before is going to find their faith shaken a bit, or at the very least challenged, because suddenly there's tons of stuff out there. And again, let's just throw away the agnostics and the atheists. Let's just simply talk about other religious people. Their beliefs alone has a lot in there that can completely throw off the so-called truth of what certain Christian people will teach, particularly the more fundamentalist slant that these people are Satanists and evil. Well, just from the very things that they're saying and how they're acting, you can tell that they're not. So that right there is a counter to it. And that was simply just from reading about them. That's why the internet is a threat. It's a place where ideas can be exchanged. And if Christianity is going to continue, at least certain brands of it, if they're going to continue to be unchanging, fundamentalist in viewpoints, and completely hard-headed to accept any facts that are given to them, they are going to die off. And it's not because of some sinister plot to wipe them out. It's just simply the nature of the beast of what happens when ideas are exchanged and old, outdated, and fraudulent ideas are removed from the table. This is simply the advancement of human civilization. Now, I will say this, and this might have some people raising their eyebrows, like, why are you saying this? Christianity doesn't necessarily have to die because of this, but it does mean that a lot of fundamentalists are going to have to change their viewpoints, particularly in America. I think the internet is more of a threat to American Christianity than, the world's. Not to say that it's not going to give a problem to the world's religions either. It will. But I don't think to the extent that it will be here, because here in this country, in the United States, there seems to be a certain brand of Christianity, that fundamentalist type, which really is against any sort of new ideas being brought in. Like, hell, this, just for anybody who doesn't know this, the idea of the Bible, like a Christian can't be Christian unless they accept every word in the Bible is true, that you have to believe in the Bible, that's a uniquely American thing. You don't really encounter that much in the rest of the world. Go to the rest of the world, they're like, look, we believe in Jesus as our Savior, and that's pretty much it. As long as you believe in God, and you happen to follow His tenets, and you pray, and that's it. You don't necessarily have to accept the Bible. There's plenty of Christians out there who don't necessarily hold the Bible as the ultimate truth. They see it as a guide, but they think that the literalists, quite frankly, are crazy. That sort of narrow-minded thinking is what's getting Christians in trouble over here, because they're encountering tons of stuff online which is showing that their book is not true in the literal sense. And sooner or later, that's going to be causing a lot of permanent damage. And I think it already is causing a lot of permanent damage, because you can't dispute facts. Hell, just the fact that Christians are now having to back up their claims is something foreign to them. They didn't have to do that before, and that's also causing a lot of blasting. So to sum this up, because I've been yapping way too long, the internet is not a threat just because there are agnostics and atheists in it. It's a threat simply because it's a place where information is constantly being exchanged at a rapid rate. It's a whole bunch of new ideas that people before never had to deal with. And if they cannot deal with those ideas, then they're going to find their traditions wiped out. That's it. Catch you guys later.